Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? Today we'll be doing a video of the 2020 Tundra TRD Pro. We'll do an outside walk around, an inside tour, and take it on a drive. Before we get into the rest of this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to Carson Toyota for providing me with this car to review. They're one of the largest dealerships in SoCal and can help you find the Toyota you are looking for. I'll link all their contact information below. Be sure to give it a call if you have any further questions on Toyotas. Alright, so the 2020 Tundra TRD Pro is powered by the 5.7 liter V8, pushing out 381 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque. It's made to that 6-speed automatic transmission, and it gets you 13 miles per gallon in the city, 17 in the highway, and 14 combined, which honestly is not the greatest numbers, but you know it'll get you that MPG for a really long time because of its reliability. In terms of towing capability, this is capable of towing 9,200 pounds, which is a lot, but it's not the highest rating towing capacity of the Tundra lineup. But then again, that's not the main reason you get this truck. You get it because of its off-roading capability, and we'll get into that in a little bit. This color is the gray metallic paint, and while it looks mean, I had to wait till they got the army green color in stock in order for me to get some footage of it to include that in this video, because that color is by far my favorite offering on this truck. So starting off on the outside, you do get a lot of extra bits, standard because this is a TRD Pro model. In terms of the front, this has not one, but 2 hood vents. And I mean, it hurts twice as much to say that these are not functional, but they add aesthetic value, I guess. I mean, honestly though, it's not unusual for Toyotas to have non-functional vents in their TRD models. I feel like the Toyota Heritage badge is a nice touch, and the front grille really suits this truck well. A key highlight on the front is the factory integrated rigid industry fog lights, which are super bright and pair up nicely with the LED headlights. Lastly, you have a 1/4-inch thick front skid plate, and you do have the option of adding a skid plate under the fuel tank as well. Going on the side, I have to highlight these BBS forged rims, which is amazing to see on this Tundra. These are high quality rims, and I think the looks suit this truck very well. You have the blacked out 5.7 liter badging, telling you that this is a special truck, but the real kicker is the large TRD Pro stamped panel, which matches the Tundra stamping in the tailgate. But before I get to the rear, I do want to give you a peep under the wheel well so we can take in the glory of the Fox shocks. This is why you buy the TRD Pro. These dampers are position sensitive and have amazing dampening technology to ensure you're in control when off-road, and I'll link a specific video on these Fox shocks down in the description below, so check that out if you're interested in that. I really wish I could have the opportunity to test drive this off-road for myself, and hopefully look forward to doing that someday. Going on to the rear, it's probably the most straightforward portion of this vehicle, with a 3-piece rear bumper and the blacked out badging, as well as your tow accessory inputs. You also have your dual blacked out exhaust tips, which sound great, as we'll hear in the cold start in a bit, and your rear view camera. Going inside this truck, you have a ton of room. The TRD embossed leather seats are supple and comfortable, but not nearly as luxurious as the 1794 edition, but that's not the point of this truck. One quirk I noticed was how the front seats on this car do not have grab handles to help you get in. And while this doesn't have a step, and because I'm short, it does make it difficult getting in the driver's seat. But for some reason, they added it on the rear seat, so honestly, I can't explain this grab handle situation too much. The interior is mostly standard Tacoma, but what you do have is your 4-wheel drive selector, which I'll talk about more in the drive. And new for 2020 is the 8-inch N2 system, now with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it's hooked up to a banging 12-speaker JBL system. The gauge cluster is really easy to read, and you'll have a multi-information display in the middle. Going on the center console, which has a TRD logo, it is huge and has just one big opening. I wish I saw some compartments in here outside of the organizers on the lid portion of this, but overall, I guess it's a good amount of storage, so you guys can organize it with some dividers when you own the truck. Overall though, the fit and finish inside here is great with the leather panels and the red accented stitching. In terms of safety, I think this is the only truck that hasn't received the full Toyota Sense 2.0 suite, but it does have the Toyota Safety Sense 1.0 equipment with pre-collision dynamic cruise control, auto high beam lights, blind spot monitoring, and lane departure. Other than that, there's a sunroof and the rear seats have a ton of legroom as well as vents for the rear. But that's pretty much it. If you're enjoying this content so far, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. I do plan to do a ton more coverage on the Tundra in terms of other trims, since there are a lot more offered outside of the TRD Pro. So please sound off in the comment section of what you'd like to see next. With that said, let's start it up and take it on a drive. Alright guys, let's start this thing up. It sounds really good. I love how old school V8 this truck sounds. It is low on fuel, thanks to the cold start. But getting inside it, I mean, this look has been around for a while, but I think with the modern updates to the Entune, it's refinements at this point, to be honest. But let's just get a feeling for how this thing drives in the city day to day. All right guys, right off the bat, it's really comfortable. You do hear the engine is loud. It does, you know, the induction note you can hear in the cabin pretty well, as well as exhaust note, to be completely honest. But in terms of how this car feels and driving it, the hood vents, the two of them that I talked about in the voiceover, you only see one of them when you drive. It's a huge bulge, and I know it's not functional, and it does kind of feel like it's tacked on, since you can see the seam. So like, unlike the 4Runner hood vent, which isn't also functional, that's also, but I feel like that's blended in, so I think it does a better job of feeling like an integrated part of the car's aesthetic. So rolling on right here, you sense that this thing wants to go. It's a big engine, but you are going to pay for that at the pump. It does not do good in the MPG, as I talked about. I mean, the biggest reason you get the TRD Pro is for those Fox shocks. As they are in the Tacoma, obviously they're different size, different tuning setup. These shocks are by far the biggest standout feature. But let's skip from the suspension and talk about how this thing goes. All right guys, so let's just get on this thing real quick and see how this thing performs. It just sounds so rewarding, and I mean, I went pretty fast there. You don't really feel speed, so the suspension does a good job of masking speed. So just keep that in mind. But wow, you just really want to hear this thing get rung out, because it's a beast of an engine. But man, that's satisfying. And you got the TRD exhaust. We heard from Cold Start. It sounds amazing, and it just sounds even sweeter when you're on load and you're actually, you know, pushing it. Going on to handling, I mean, in the city, there's nothing too much to really talk about. One thing I love to see in this car is the fact that you can lower the rear window, just like the 4Runner. You have that here in the Tundra. I think that's awesome. You let in some fresh air without getting any buffeting through the windows if you have, let's say, one down. It's a good way to do that. It does really feel like a big car to turn though. Like, I mean, at least me, I'm not the tallest guy. I do have to raise the seat a little bit. I did right there. But even then, it's just like, for me at least, unless you're used to driving this truck, it's gonna be really hard for you to predict the front of it. And I mean, they do have a backup camera here. I haven't seen anything for front sensors here, so can't really comment on that. Going on the transmission, it is the same 6-speed. Not much improvement there. We saw how it shifts. It shifts smoothly. Not gonna be the fastest shifting transmission, but you know, it's catered towards towing, not so much towards highway performance. I would like to see an upgraded 10-speed or an 8-speed be included in this truck. I'm sure they're going to be putting that in the next generation of Tacomas, but we're working with the same platform in terms of transmissions as the Tacoma started out when this platform was first launched. One thing I do want to comment on is the fit and finish inside. The steering wheel feels very nice. You feel special when you're in this truck, since you do have the TRD branding all over. But is it worth the premium? That's the biggest question. This one actually does have a dealership markup of around $10,000, so it's going to run you around $67,000 out the door. And comparing that to, let's say, the Raptor, my opinion is the Raptor looks better. I'm going to be completely honest here. But these Tundras have a really good reliability record and an amazing value proposition just because of how well they hold their value. I mean, same for the Raptors. Don't get me wrong, the Raptors have one of the best value holding characteristics of any pickup truck, but the Tundra is just second to that. And when you buy a truck that you're gonna wanna have for a really long time, that matters the most. We're gonna get a sense for also how this thing turns right here, the turning radius. So I'm gonna really get on the lock here and then see if I can make it around this U-turn. And honestly, it does not disappoint. That's pretty impressive. So this is also a 4-wheel drive car, so you do have that transfer case which you can actually adjust here. You have 2-wheel drive, you can go into 4-wheel, and then you have to actually push it in to get to 4-wheel low, but you don't want to do that when you're driving. You have to actually go at low speeds in order to safely engage your 4-wheel low. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up here. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this video and learned something valuable from it, and so that it also helps me out a lot and that it's suggested to other people who might enjoy this type of content. And subscribe for more Toyota Tundra coverage. I also do Tacomas, RAV4s, and a bunch of other cars and trucks in the Toyota lineup. So with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.